So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Welcome you back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, January 8th. Hope everyone's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, January 8th. We are now only one day away from the NFL playoffs. Tomorrow is the start of the 2021 NFL playoffs. It's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited. Hopefully you are as well. It is going to be an exciting playoff, and a lot of good games on store for tomorrow, a lot of games on store for Sunday, and then obviously next week you got the divisional round, then the AFC Championship, then the bye week, then the Super Bowl, so it's all exciting. I'm really excited. Hopefully you are as well. Yesterday, just quick sports for yesterday. Hope everybody had a good day so far. Also had a good day yesterday. Yesterday, the Brooklyn Nets did, in fact, get the win. It was a very good win for the Brooklyn Nets yesterday. Really felt like we came out firing on all cylinders. Really blew them out. Really played really well from all phases of the game. Really thought, that we, really thought that we were able to, really just play good. I'll tell you what, man, the Nets, they have their moments. They really do. This is definitely a team that is not up to the start that we really envisioned. I'm sure a lot of us Nets fans, including myself, envisioned after that 2-0 start. We've been 3-4 since that, but after that 2-0 start, I'm sure a lot of us envisioned a really season route. After the 2-0 start, beating two playoff contenders, beating one team that's probably going to be in the playoffs, the other team might be on the edge, just on the edge looking out, or possibly could be in the playoffs. But after that game, we were all, or after those two games, we were all like, oh my gosh, this team's insane. It's everything we expected. And it's now, it's hit a little bit of a road bump, but now it seems to go back smooth. We got another game today, back-to-backs. I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how much I love back-to-backs as a fan. I know players aren't a big fan of back-to-backs, but I like back-to-backs. Because I like the day in between. The day in between, obviously, you can watch other stuff. But knowing that you always have something to watch. Sometimes I'll scroll through different college basketball games if the Nets aren't on. Or I'll watch the Knicks even. Usually I watch the Knicks, then I'll turn on a college basketball game. But knowing that, I love back-to-backs. Because if you get a win, then you have a game the next day. Or as a fan, if you lose and you're like, oh, you don't have to wait to watch them play again to try to get a win. You're like, oh, tomorrow we could just go back out and try to redeem ourselves. So now we're trying to build a little bit of a consistent winning streak. We have a 2-game win streak right now. If we win tonight, we will have a 3-game win streak. Day off tomorrow, be back Sunday, which is possibly the day Kevin Durant comes back. Possibly get the win there, so on and so forth. Then we got the Knicks, Cavs, teams like that moving forward, and then kind of just the rest of the February. And I think our first West Coast trip is west of January. The first West Coast trip, which personally as a fan, I can't stand West Coast trips. But our first West Coast trip is, I think, mid-February. So I don't like West Coast trips personally. Just don't. And the players don't either. But yeah. So good win yesterday for the Nets, and back-to-back. So we play again today against the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. Then we come back home for one more game. Then we're on the road for a little bit. Then we're back home. Then on the road, and then it's kind of just one of those things where 2 games you're home, couple games away, 2 games home. It's kind of just like that, a balance the rest of the way. So the Nets are playing tonight, try to build our winning streak and improve it to 3-3 and go 2-0 on this back-to-back. But these are the topics for today's podcast. We got the NFL game picks. We'll give you it all. No Jets and Giants. Obviously, their seasons are done. Not surprised once again that the Jets and the Giants are not in the playoffs. But I'll give you my NFL game picks. I'll spend a little bit more time in each game now, just because it's only 6 minutes. It's not 6 minutes. It's only 6 games this weekend compared to your usual 16. So obviously 10 less games is a pretty big amount. So I might go a little bit more into in depth since I can now do that. Obviously the other games being that I had 16 to go through, I kind of had to go through them pretty quickly because then I had to get to the other topics. So we'll get to the NFL game picks. A lot of good games. 3 on Saturday, 3 on Saturday, and 3 on Sunday. And and then we got fantasy basketball advice and overview. We'll give you all that good stuff. Give you just a good old overview. Obviously, fantasy basketball, no more fantasy football. It is done. Fantasy basketball will be kind of that second spot for now. And then to finish it off, by the way, I've not done my fantasy hockey draft yet. I'm not entirely sure when I'm going to do it. I would hope sometime by the first game. Obviously, that's the goal. But I'm not entirely sure. There's only 5 days until the game, so I got to work something out. It's just been tough planning with, kind of stuff like that. So I'll figure that out. But once I have that team, I'll share with you guys. And then obviously that should go pretty well. Then we have college basketball, NBA, Nets, Knicks, and Kentucky. Kentucky plays tomorrow. Nets play today. And then Sunday, Knicks also play today. College basketball, NBA, all that good stuff to finish out your normal football Friday. By the way, no college football this weekend. The national championship game is on Monday. So I'll preview that game on Monday. I'm going to do a special. Kind of go into a deep dive, really preview it, I'll give you the keys to the game and stuff probably. Take a real deep dive into that game. Obviously, being it's a national championship game, we'll spend more time on that. But it's not this weekend, so that's why no college football. We'll wait till Monday to preview that. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So 6 games this weekend, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. The games on Saturday are the Bills, Colts, Seahawks, Rams, Washington, Buccaneers, and the games on Sunday are the Titans, Ravens, Saints, Bears, and the Steelers, Browns. So those are the games on Sunday, and then the games on Saturday I just revealed. So obviously, I'll just go from the same because that's how it is on this list here. It goes from the Saturday games to Sunday games. But I just want to go quickly into this. My game pick record, I know I've shared this a ton of times, but just to keep you updated, because I also want to show you, that this is real. I'm not, trying to pull any quick moves. I'm showing you what the record is, and then depending on how I do, I don't want to all of a sudden pop out of the middle of nowhere and have 230 wins, right? So I have 180. I'm 181 and 86 overall. Coming off of a 14-2 week to finish the season, and so far in the playoffs wild card, I'm 0-0 obviously because there's been no games. So that's how it's that's how it's been. So that's my record heading into game picks. So it should be. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm feeling pretty confident about my picks. There's a couple picks. There's probably about 2 picks where I'm taking the underdog. Those are the 2 picks. So 2 out of the 6 games, I'm taking the underdog. Spoiler. I did not give you the game yet, but 2 of the 6 games, I'm taking the underdog, or at least that's what it says. I personally don't think they're the underdogs, but that's the numbers show the spread is them as the underdogs. So, but like I said, the playoffs are a little weird because you could have a 4-win week, but that's only like 4-2, and that's not amazing. So definitely playoffs is a little different because especially when you get to the divisional rounds and like AFC Championship game, there's only 2 games that week. So you could very well go 1-1, and that's not that good. That 500 isn't great, but with it being the sample size it is, it's obviously my whole goal is I got the Super Bowl pick right last year. I went 1-0 with the Super Bowl picks. Got it right last year. I did pick the Chiefs. Got it right with the Eagles. I picked the Eagles. The reason I picked the Eagles was because I wanted them to win, so I kind of just was like, let me pick them. I was wrong with the Rams-Patriots. I thought the Rams were going to win that game. I just thought their offense would be way better. Wrong about that. What was the Super Bowl before that? It was the Falcons-Patriots. I was wrong about that. I did actually have the Falcons winning. Was wrong about that. Obviously, last year was the Chiefs. Obviously last year was the Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs obviously won, was right about that. And this year I'm expecting it to be Chiefs and probably Packers, I would say is my prediction. But, obviously like I said, it also depends. It's, just because I say the Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl doesn't mean I'm going to be guaranteed to pick them on the doesn't mean I'm going to be guaranteed to pick them on the Super Bowl, obviously. It all depends on how they're playing, too. If they're playing that decent and the other team's red hot, then I might pick the other team. But at this very moment, I think the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. Kind of made that prediction at the beginning of the year, kind of sticking to it. I just think the Chiefs are the best overall team. But yeah, so that's what I head into this week with an NFL game picks record. So kind of just give you an overview. The NFL has had a pretty successful year, I would say. Obviously, with the whole virus situation and everything happening, I would go ahead and say that it's been, for the most part, a pretty successful year. Now, Now, I will tell you this. Obviously, there's been some. I will tell you this. There's definitely been some bumps in the road. I mean, it's just there's going to be bumps in the road, obviously. When you're trying to play a season in these times, there's going to be some bumps in the road. So, but for the most part, to get to the playoffs for the NFL without playing a bubble, I would say for the most part, it's been pretty successful. So it's been a pretty good year for the NFL and for these players too. They've been really low. Some teams obviously have had better control over keeping the virus low and stuff than others. But for the most part, it was a pretty successful year, and I'm excited to get to the playoffs. Obviously, there's a couple teams that are allowing fans. So the Bills are allowing fans, Chiefs are allowing fans, Buccaneers I know are allowing fans, and then really the Colts technically are allowing fans, but they might not even be able to. I mean, I don't even know they're the seventh side. I don't even know if they would be able to get a home game. They would need to hope. I don't think they would even be able to get a home game. They might be on the road for the entire playoffs, I would think, because the AFC, yeah, they might be. So I know the Colts do allow fans, but I don't know if they'll even be able to host a home playoff game because I think they're the lowest seed. Yeah, because you have the Titans, Browns, and then Colts, and I think the Colts are the 7th seed. So yeah, so it would be So, yeah, I think it's So anyway, but for the most part, a lot of these teams are allowing fans. I know the Bills, obviously, like I said, are adjusted it to where they can. Obviously, playoffs is a completely different ballgame. But with all that being said, let's get into the game picks here. Like I said, I'll go from top to bottom, pretty much the Saturday games to Sunday games. That's just how it's lined up here. So let's get it started. The first playoff game of the 2021 season will be the Bills-Colts. The Bills come in this game with a regular season record of 13-3. For the playoffs, it shows it's 0-0. But for a regular season record of 13-3, the Colts come in this game of a regular season record of 11-5. The Bills come in this game 6.5-point favorites, and the over-under for this game is set at 51. This game's on at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on CBS. So first off, I'd like to say, I mean, both these teams obviously really had successful years. I mean, that's kind of just how it is. I mean, I'm going to say that a lot today. Obviously, both these teams really had some really successful years and had some really good seasons. I'm going to start I'll go to the Bills and then the Colts. Obviously, the Bills are one of these teams that, with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and the run game for the Bills this year has probably been their one big problem, and I guess you could kind of say at times, I mean, their run defense has done a pretty good job. Definitely has improved from last year, but still, I'm sure many Bills fans and even the coaching staff is not where that run defense is not quite where they want it to be. It's definitely improved from last year, but it's nothing where they want it to be or what it could be. There's a lot of talent up front, a lot of young talent up front. So if I was a Bills fan, I would so much say, you just gotta wait it out, right? It's not gonna be phenomenal one year. So the Bills, for the most part, have had a very successful year. The one thing with the Bills, though, is I think their offense is just unbelievable. I mean, you got Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, you got the leading receiver in all of the NFL, and Stephon Diggs, I think, has like 1,535 yards, something like that, leading in all of the NFL with a ton of yards. Stephon Diggs, obviously, the leading receiver. Not a huge touchdown guy. He'll score touchdowns, but he's a big yards guy. He's going to be the guy that's going to set it up. And then obviously Josh Allen's an MVP candidate this year. I would say he's probably the third best quarterback in the NFL, only behind Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes obviously being, I think, the best, and Rodgers being a future Hall of Famer. That's pretty good company to be in if you're Josh Allen. He's been improved this year, definitely the most improved player. Just the one flaw with the Bills is their run defense. And once again, this is a team that has the third leading rusher in the NFL and Jonathan Taylor on the Colts. That's a problem for the Bills. If you had to measure out the flaws, the Bills, it would be that run defense is just a little concerning. Okay, I would like to say this about the Bills, though. You don't have to worry, and I'll get into the Colts in just a little bit. You don't have to worry if you're the Bills. You don't have to worry about Phillip Rivers throwing for 350 yards or 400 yards. You're not going to have to worry about that. If anything, if the Colts are going to win this game, it's going to be on the ground. Phillip Rivers cannot be relied at his age, the way he's not playing bad, and I know at times I might sound like I'm saying he's been playing bad. He hasn't been playing terrible, but it's just, I don't know if where the level he's playing at is good enough to lead this Colts team to big things, ultimately the Super Bowl. But obviously with this Bills team is they're going to rely heavily on this run game. The Bills are going to have to stop that. They're not going to damage you in the passing game. They're not. If they do, then that's upsetting, because with Poyer, Micah Hyde, Johnson, you got obviously Tre'Davious White, one of the better corners in all the league. When you have those 4 or 5 guys back there in that secondary, I think the Bills are definitely a top 5, maybe even top 3 secondary in the NFL. When you have all those guys back there, it is no matter who the quarterback is, it is a tough defense to read and a tough defense to play against. So if the Bills is they got to stop the run. That's really the main key for the Bills. That's the real main key for the Bills is to stop the run, because the pass game ain't going to damage you. It is not going to be the pass game that's going to damage you. I could sit here on Monday, and if Philip Rivers throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, I'll sit here and tell you I was wrong. But for this time being, from what I've seen out of the Colts this year, from what I've seen out of the Bills this year, the Colts especially know how good that secondary is. They're not going to be stupid to throw the ball 50 times. So it's going to be the Bills got to stop that run game, and I just think this Bills team is just so talented. And the problem with the Bills is another thing that could be a problem is their run game is a little shaky. They gotta figure out a way to kind of get that run game going, especially considering how good this Colts defense is, this secondary, this defensive front. I mean, all around, this is a Colts defense that sends a lot of different formations at you and will send a lot of different crazy plays at you. Obviously, Matt Eberflus has done an excellent job over there. I definitely think, without a doubt, this could definitely be a game where the Bills are going to have to get the run game going, because I don't know if you could so much rely on Josh Allen to have an insane game just because of how good their defense can be. So that's kind of for the Bills. And as for the Colts, and that's another thing, the Bills have a lot of pressure on them. They're coming in, I've seen a lot of people, some experts too out there, people that are big into football, big into predictions, they have predicted the Bills to win a Super Bowl. So the Bills are coming in with a lot of pressure. Obviously, the Bills don't have the greatest playoff history. There's been a couple moments. I'm not even talking back in the 90s. With the shanked kick, the wide right and stuff. I'm talking about recently. Obviously when they made the playoffs with the 9-7 record, the first time they made it in 19 years. They obviously lost 10-7. They could barely get any points up on the board. Then just recently last year against the Texans, they obviously made the playoffs. They were winning 16-0, blew the lead, ended up losing what did they end up losing? Like 19-16? Yeah, I think they ended up losing 19-16. They blew that game. Josh Allen made some mistakes. So the Bills, if I was the Bills, you just got to cancel out the outside noise, focus in on this game. It's a young team. You've built some playoff experience. Last year, you could say, okay, I can understand. So a lot of these guys' first experience, young team. Now you built experience. You better come out here and play well. And as for the Colts are a team that are pretty big underdogs in this game. You're obviously coming in as the 7 seed, the team to not, really this is a team to probably, this would be the team a lot of people would assume to be out first. But this is a team that's really coming in this game with real no pressure on them. I mean, at the beginning of the year, this was a team, that lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 1. That is how, I will tell you what, the Colts were one of the more improved teams. The Colts lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars people week 1. They look like a disgruntled football team. They look like a football team that could possibly be the first couple weeks. They look like a football team that could possibly be in the running. For Trevor Lawrence in the beginning. And they were able to turn it around, play well, get to 11-5, and squeak into the playoffs thanks to a Week 17 win against the Jaguars. So the Colts, I'll tell you what, they've improved a lot this season. I just don't foresee it happening. I just think this Bills team is just too good. I just don't foresee the Colts playing. I just don't foresee this happening. I think the Bills team is too good. I think they're dominant almost every side of the ball. It's just the run game. If the Colts want any way to win this game, they're going to have to give the ball to the third leading rusher in all the NFL, and Jonathan Taylor, only behind Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry, whom has cracked 2,000 yards this season. I just think it's going to be too difficult. I give the Bills the win this game. I'm going to give them the win. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be relatively close. It's not going to be ginormous. It's not going to be a huge win. It's not going to be anything 45-10. It's going to be relatively close. I give the Bills the win. 28-17 Bills win. I think they cover. And 28-17 would put me at the under on the over-under of 58 or 51. Take the under on the over-under of 51, and the Bills win and cover. Bills win, first playoff pick of the season. Next up, we got the Rams and the Seahawks. Seahawks come into this game 3-point favorites. Rams come in this game, obviously 3-point underdogs, and the over-under is set at 42 for this game, expecting a low-scoring affair. This game comes on shortly after the Bills game at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox. This should be a good game. I think really what really decides this game is the health of the Rams quarterback and Jared Goff. We've all seen it. The Seahawks have struggled this year, the past couple weeks in the offensive game. Really the past really the first half of the season, they were really dominant. They were playing well. They looked real good. Obviously, Russell Wilson was probably the leader. The leader was obviously probably the leader to win the MVP. Obviously, in front of Mahomes, Rodgers. At the time, Josh Allen was there, but he was kind of on the outside looking in. Kyler Murray was definitely in that race, but obviously now it's kind of changed. Now Rodgers and Mahomes is taking the lead. Allen is right behind him, right? Things like that. But the Seahawks have been struggling on offense the past couple weeks, and we've seen it. We've seen it a lot. So I think the big thing for the Seahawks today, if they want or on Saturday, if they want any chance of winning tomorrow, they got to find a way to get this offense rolling like they were in the beginning of the season. I will tell you this, because the defense has stepped up and really helped them these past couple weeks to get these wins. I'll tell you this. If the Seahawks come out and play like they are, and this might be a bold prediction, but if they play like they did early on in the year where Russell Wilson was throwing 4 touchdowns a game and their defense is playing like it is now, this might be a very tough team to beat and a possible Super Bowl team. If this team plays like they did in the beginning of the season. I don't know what happened because this team has looked completely different. It's the same roster of guys. There hasn't been any injuries, really. Chris Carson, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Guys like that on this offense have got to start to step up and make plays because you want to know why? On the opposing side of the ball, that Rams defense isn't going to give you any of these chances. You got to play your best game against this Rams defense. Any little mistake you make, it could be the tiniest mistake, this Rams defense will make you pay for it if you're the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have to limit the mistakes, and they have to get back to playing Seahawks football that we saw early on in the year. I know this team's capable of it. I've seen it before. And we've all seen the Seahawks team before make the playoffs and make some crazy runs. We saw it against the Packers. We saw it the year against the Packers where they came all the way back and won. We saw it the year where they dominated the 49ers, or where they were close against the 49ers and won it. We saw this team go back to back to back to go. We saw this team make it to back-to-back Super Bowls. Obviously, they won the one, then they lost the other. We've seen this team make the playoffs plenty of times. I think if this Seahawks team turns on to how they play in the playoffs, because this is a team that the way they play in the playoffs a lot of times is unstoppable. This is a team that's got to get back to the ways. And for the Rams, this is a team that's, I really feel like ever since this Jets loss has really fallen apart a little bit, they've got to get back to. This is really going to be a big game. Of both these teams have been struggling. I would say that pretty much these past 3 to 4 weeks have been struggling a little bit, and there's injuries that have hurt them. Obviously, the Rams with the injury to Jared Goff. Obviously, they did get the win last week, but part of that was because Kyler Murray obviously went out with the injury. I'll tell you what, I think this is a big game. Is if both these teams play like they did a couple weeks ago, in the beginning of the year, this is going to be a fun game. But if both these teams play like they are playing right now, this is going to be a pretty boring, maybe 10-7 game. That's why I think the over/under is set so low. You got a great defense against a great offense. I think it's going to be an entertaining matchup. I do give the Seahawks the win here. I just can't trust Jared Goff. If Russell Wilson doesn't play that bad, if Russell Wilson doesn't play that good, either way, they could still get the win. But it's just, I just can't trust, even Jared Goff without an injury. It's just at times the guy just makes so many weird decisions. I give the Seahawks the win. And I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. 24-17 Seahawks win. And that would put me at the 24-17 would put me at the under on the over-under of, let's see. So 24-17 would be 41. So under on the over-under 42. I take the under on the over-under 42, and I think the Seahawks cover. 24-17 Seahawks win. Next up, we got the 8:15 game, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the late game today. This is obviously the late game. This is the nightcap. This is on NBC. You got the Buccaneers coming in against Washington Redskins. The Buccaneers come in this game 8-point favorites. The Washington comes into this game obviously 8-point underdogs. The over/under is set at 44.5 for this game. This game is on at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC. I'll first off like to say this about Washington. Everything this team went through, from the name change at the beginning of the year to everything that has revolved around their coach and Alex Smith, obviously everything they've been through, everything that this team has been through. Obviously, having to release Dwayne Haskins, it's not usual to release a quarterback after he hasn't even been with the team for 2 years. Obviously, this was just his second season in the NFL. They cut him. Obviously, they released him. Everything that this team went through in the offseason with all these, everything between the name change and, Alex Smith and what's going on with this team, Dwayne Haskins getting talk, everything this team went through. From off the field stuff to even at times bad performances on the field. Everything this team went through to make the playoffs was an insane accomplishment. And I'll tell you what. We all at the beginning of the year, and I was a big person into this too, I thought this was going to be a team that was going to be the laughingstock of the league. They had really no one. Dwayne Haskins was a bust at that point. Dwayne Haskins did nothing. You knew you couldn't trust him. No one knew what was going to happen with Alex Smith and how his career was going to turn around. You obviously had the name change to a Washington football team, which is a very odd name. You usually want an animal or something like that, not just football team in there, right? Things like that. So obviously, with all that stuff happening, they were still able to hone in and focus and obviously win a division. I understand it was the NFC East. I understand it was probably the weakest division of football. I get it. They came in at a 7-9 record. But the fact is that they were still able to go out there, focus on the games, even with all the outside noise happening. They were able to go out there, focus, go out there, and ultimately win 7 games, which was enough for the division. And I said this all along. As much as the NFC East is terrible, and I've said this a couple times too, that, this NFC East team shouldn't be allowed, but, it should be maybe a rule or whatever. I'll tell you what. Obviously, it's a division winner. They're going to be in the playoffs. That's how it is. If the Giants made the playoffs, they're in. If they made it at 6-10, that's how the things work. Same thing with Washington. If they made it, that's how it works. They're 7-9. They host the playoff game, and the Buccaneers got to go to Washington. Now, I'll tell you what. I don't think Washington stands much of a chance in this game, and the reason I say that is just I want Washington to win. I think it would be an excellent story to see Washington make the Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to happen, but with everything, even just to win a playoff game, I think it would be an excellent story. Knocking off what everyone says is the Super Bowl winners, Buccaneers, knocking off them, I think would be amazing. I just don't know if they stand much of a chance in this game. You got to look at this team. Especially Mike Evans is expected to play 2 this week. You got Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, obviously Brady and stuff like that. Gronk. This team I feel like at times just has too much firepower. And I don't know if I could trust this offense a little bit in a way, because this defense is really good, especially when it comes to their run defense. And Washington relies big time on their run game to help them win a lot of these games. And if they can't get their run game going, that's going to be a problem for Washington. And in a way, that's what's been really happening. That's what's really been happening with Washington, is if they can't get their run game going, it's going to be ugly. I give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the win here. Like I said, I just think I want Washington to win. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just think the Buccaneers are too good of a team. I still stand by the fact that I don't think the Buccaneers are good enough to make the Super Bowl. I still stand by that. But I just think they win this game. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with me. 8-point favorites. The chances are just so slim. It's good to make the playoffs, so if you're Washington. Obviously, it was good to make the playoffs. But I give the Buccaneers the win. It's just going to be really tough for Washington. I really believe that Alex Smith still got it in him. It's just, I don't know, against this defense, it's just so good. So it's going to be really tough for Washington. But I give the Buccaneers the win. I'll give them the win 31-21. I think they cover. I think they cover 31-21. I think they cover. And I think Washington's gonna hang around. But 31-21, I take the under on the over, or I think Tampa Bay covers, and I take the under on the over 44.5. So for the Saturday game picks, I have the Bills winning, Seahawks winning, and Buccaneers winning. Next up, we got the remaining games. These are the Sunday games. We started off with the Ravens and the Titans. Ravens come in this game 3-point favorites. Titans come in this game 3-point underdogs. Obviously, the over/under is 55 for this game. This game's at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ABC and ESPN. This is a game that's really funky. This game's on Nickelodeon, I heard. So it's gonna be this game's kind of funny because it's not just going to be on ESPN. I guess it's going to be on ABC and a Nickelodeon telecast. And I guess there's going to be little SpongeBobs across the screen. So it's going to be really odd. This game's on both networks. This game's like a Nickelodeon game. So I guess you could watch it on the Nickelodeon version, which would be like it's going to be like, I guess there's going to be like slime. It's going to be like a Nickelodeon, with like SpongeBob and stuff like that. That's what it's going to be like. I'm not going to watch it on that because I would much rather watch a professional telecast. I'm going to probably I'll watch it on ESPN. But if you watch it on ABC, it's like a Nickelodeon thing where they're teaming up with Nickelodeon, and it's going to be like there's a bunch of different themes and stuff. But I would just much rather just watch the game. I feel bad for, really? Like, you're going to put a game on Nickelodeon. It's a playoff game. And it's a big one, too. But to get into the game here, I'll tell you this first. Obviously, we all know what happened last year with the Ravens and the Titans. The Ravens were obviously went 14-2. Jackson won the MVP. Everyone was like, oh, Ravens. You're going to win. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. I predicted the Ravens to win. I had them winning big. The Titans obviously barely squeaked into the playoffs. Titans ended up losing in the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs, blowing a lead. And the Titans obviously got past. Titans obviously played on the road the entire year. They beat some of the unthinkable teams. They beat the Patriots on the road. They beat the Ravens on the road. And then they beat the Chiefs. They almost beat the Chiefs on the road. But I'll tell you what. I'm actually going to, as much as wild as it, this is the one of my underdog picks. I have another underdog pick. It's either the Bears-Saints game or the Browns-Steelers game. I have another underdog pick that I'm making. This is the one of my two underdog picks. Okay, I think Titans win this game. And I'll tell you why. Okay, Lamar Jackson, don't get me wrong, he's had a decent year. Nothing to what he's done last season. That's tough to tell. That's tough to do, though, at times. But that just goes to show you that Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback than Lamar Jackson because Patrick Mahomes has done this consistently for 3 straight years. Jackson has done it for 1 year, and this year was far off, not even close to the MVP status. The reason I give the Titans the win here is, once again, the Ravens have really struggled in the playoffs. They just can't seem to do anything in the playoffs. And I was talking about this to someone the other day about, teams and playoffs and, if you have a ongoing history of not being good in the playoffs and stuff like that. The Ravens have that. Jackson has even said a couple of times this year. Jackson has even said a couple of times this week, that, the playoffs are definitely very well on their, it's definitely on their mind. The fact that they have not been able to really make a playoff run or anything, it's definitely been on their mind. Always being the heavily favorite. And that's why I actually give the Titans the win here. Titans are going into this game with no pressure. And another reason why is if you really want to get to the player standpoint, Derrick Henry, I find him at times almost unstoppable. And you could disagree with me, and you could sit here and find a million reasons why he's not unstoppable, but I could find 3 million. I could find more. I think you could find more. He's almost unstoppable. The guy had 2,000 rushing yards this year. The guy, just every run, he's stiff-arming, he's trucking, and you know what the Titans did last year to win this game? They ran the ball. You know who almost has that same defensive front for the opposing team? The Ravens. If the Titans do what they did last season and run the ball, pound it up the gut of the Ravens, the Titans will win this game. And I can almost guarantee it. The Titans will win this game if they run the ball. Now, if they don't run the ball, Tannehill's not a bad quarterback. But if they don't run the ball, you got to target your guys like a Corey Davis or an A.J. Brown. You cannot try to target these other guys. Even like a Jonnu Smith. You got him. I just think this Titans team has too many weapons. And I just don't believe that this Ravens team is just going to be able to do it all the time with all these running plays. It's all it is just running. Oh, guess what? Fake handoff. Lamar Jackson's running. Oh, it's a fake handoff. Oh, no, Lamar Jackson's handing it off here. It's a pistol formation. That's all the Ravens do. I give the Titans the win here. I think they win. I think it's to be relatively close. 28-21, Titans win. I think it's to be relatively close. 28-21, Titans win. And with that being said, I take the under on the over-under of 54.5, and I will flip it the other way, and the Titans win this game. I take the underdog. I just think, with everything, the Ravens just can't seem to win a playoff game. The Ravens can't seem to string 4 good quarters together when it comes to playoffs. This has happened a ton with the Ravens. It happened the other year, a couple years ago. They were playing against the Chargers in the playoffs. I think it was actually Jackson's rookie year. Obviously they had a pretty good game going, and then they had a bench Flacco. Jackson came in, and they tried to make a late comeback, and it's just not, things like that aren't going to work. Yeah, I don't know. And like I said, the Titans they're coming into this team with they're coming obviously into this game. No one's really expecting them to win at all. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that still believe the Ravens got it in them, but I just think that the Titans are going to pull off another upset. That's really my personal opinion on this game. So the Titans win. Next up, we got the Bears and the Saints. Saints coming in this game, 10-point favorites. The over-under is set at 47.5. Okay, this game I'm going to probably be pretty quick with, okay? As much as I would love to see the Bears win this game, because I've always said this, I'm all for underdogs winning. But that's not even just this case. I just think it would be pretty cool because I don't personally like. I'm not a big fan of Saints, and they're especially Saints fans. They tend to, I find, complain a lot. Every year there's something to complain about. Every year it's a pass interference that they should be complaining about, or it's a bad pass interference, or that call should have been the Minneapolis Miracle against them, like that stuff. Like, I get it. There's been a lot of pain in Saints fans in the playoffs. Yeah, it obviously started with the Minneapolis Miracle. Obviously, then went with that bad pass interference call. I will always do this. I've had a couple of moments as a sports fan where my team have had, the refs made some bad calls on them, and I'll still take it. At the end of the day, it could be the bad call, but at the end of the day, I just find you can't blame the game on the refs. There's always could have been a moment in that game you could have done something better. What if Breeze doesn't target that guy and he targets some other guy? Like, nothing like that. I don't think you could always blame on the refs. I'm not a big Saints fan just because I think their fans complain a lot. I think every year there's something new to complain about, and they are still talking about the pass interference penalties. I think some of their things that they say too are completely outrageous. Like last year, that Mason Rudolph play, the Kyle Rudolph, where Kirk Cousins and the Vikings went into the Super Bowl, and this was with fans, one of the hardest stadiums playing, and upset the Saints. And everyone said that the Kyle Rudolph touchdown late in the game to take the lead and ultimately win it. Everyone was saying how that was a pass interference penalty. There was literally no pass interference, and they still to this day will complain and say that was a pass interference penalty. So I would love to see as much as I would love to see an upset. And I've always said, sometimes it's cool to see. Sometimes, if it's a Chiefs game, I'll root for the Chiefs if they're the favorite, right? Even if they're not the favorite, I'll root for them. And sometimes, obviously, for example, if a Buffalo Bills were to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs somehow, I think that would be pretty cool. Obviously, I would like, I don't mind either team, I hope to see the Bills do good, and the reason I say that is because, obviously, I think it's pretty cool all the years they've been through suffering, but I'm all for the underdog. I just don't think the Saints will win. I just don't think the Bears are going to win this game. And I know everyone's getting all hyped up about Trubisky, and Trubisky's doing this, Trubisky's doing that. I understand that. I just don't foresee them winning this game. Okay, the Saints, when they're on, Alvin Kamara obviously said that he should be ready to play. He obviously had the COVID protocols and stuff like that. He said he should be ready to play, stuff like that. And, for him to, be able to play and stuff like that, I think is huge. And I think if they just pound up the gut this entire game and just let him run the ball and do his thing like they did against the Vikings, I think it will work. And as for this Bears team, I just can't trust Trubisky. I just can't. I can't. I get it. He's had a couple good weeks here. I just can't trust him. He's due for one of these games where he just absolutely just stinks. That's really how it goes. I give the Saints a win. I think they win pretty big. 31-14. I think they win pretty big. Saints win 31-14. I take the under on the over-under 47.5, and I think the Saints cover the 10. So I think the Saints win. Next up, we got the Browns and the Steelers. Steelers coming in this game, 6-point favorites. Browns coming in this game, obviously 6-point underdogs. The over-under is 47.5 for this game. This game's on at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC. This should be a really good game. Obviously a good old rivalry. Obviously, the Steelers are home for this game. I know there's a lot of talk. Obviously, Steelers are obviously the favorites here. I give the Browns the win here. I know there's been a lot of talk around, with Kevin Stefanski not coaching and obviously, him not being able to coach and him being out because of the virus and stuff, or, stuff like that, and some other coaches, and now the special teams coach has got to take over, and I get that. But I'll tell you what, I get it, their coach might be out and all. I'll tell you one thing, though. I want to say this. This is a Steelers team that I do not believe in, that they are legit and they're going to make a run. I don't believe in it. Now, call me crazy, but I think this might be Washington beat this Steelers team. Call me crazy, but I think this might be one of the worst playoff teams out of these teams. And I'll tell you why. Let me read. I think the Bills are better. Okay. Colts, they lost to the Steelers. But I don't know. Something about that Colts team, if they played again, I just feel like the Colts are better. Rams, Seahawks are both better. Buccaneers are better. Washington beat them, so I guess you could say Washington's better. The Ravens, Titans are both better than them. Ravens obviously lost to them twice, but you also got to realize injuries affected them in that game, and the one game they had to play with RG3. So maybe the Ravens aren't better. Titans are, though. Saints and I would say Browns are. The Bears, I would say no. I think the Bears, out of all these playoffs, and I'm not trying to say that's bad. I mean, they made the playoffs. I think out of all these playoff teams, the Bears and Washington are probably at the bottom there. But let's count it. Bills are better. Rams, Seahawks, I think, are better. Buccaneers are better. Washington obviously proved they were better. Titans are better. Saints are better. And I think the Browns are better. So that's 8 teams. 8 of the... there's obviously 8. That's 8 teams right there that I think are better. I think this is one of the worst teams out of the AFC and NFC. I just don't believe in this team. I think this team's a complete hoax, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I don't believe in this team. And I know everyone's talking about without Kevin Stefanski and stuff. Okay, I get it. Head coach can make a big impact. But if these players could just go out there and do their job and just play well, they'll get the win. I believe in the Browns. I think they'll get the win. And I'm rooting for the Browns. I don't usually root for the Browns because I don't like Baker Mayfield at all. And I kind of lost respect for Myles Garrett after he smashed the helmet over Mason Rudolph's head. I mean, he almost destroyed the guy's career, and I don't like that. So I'm not a big fan of either of these teams. But for the Browns fans and fan base and players, I think it would be pretty cool to knock off a division rival like the Steelers. I give the Browns the win here. My other underdog pick, I give the Browns the win here. I think it's gonna be close, 24. 24-17. I think the Browns win, which would put me at 24 plus 24. 24-17 Browns win. I take the under on the over-under of 47.5, and I think flip it around, and the Browns are the winner. So these are the winners. I have the Bills winning, Seahawks winning, Buccaneers winning, Titans winning, Saints winning, and the Browns winning. So those are my wild card picks. So so coming up next, we got the should be a good week of. Should be an exciting week of football, or exciting weekend of football. Obviously, playoff football, like I've always said, it's always a little different. You know, obviously with all the games and stuff, it's always the energy is a little different there. So, with all that being said, that will do it for the game picks. Coming up next, we got fantasy basketball overview. Alrighty. So, we got some fantasy basketball stuff. I'm going to go a little bit in depth here with the different fantasy basketball stuff. Let's see. So we said that on January 6th. What's today? January 8th. Okay. So if you're in a fantasy league and Kristaps Porzingis is out there on waivers, there was some news on him that said he would be back in the next 7 to 10 days in terms of a timetable. He said we're not talking weeks. That's what the head coach said. He said sometime next week and a half, if all things continue to go well. So that was posted on January 6th. So it's January 8th now. So sometime next week. So definitely keep your eye out on it. I would definitely say. But this is, so far, right now, I'm winning 1,044 to 635. I'm looking, I would say, pretty good to win this matchup. Still got 2 days left of the matchup, though. But this is my lineup I'm rocking with this week. I got Kyrie today. Kyrie's obviously out. He's still there, though. But Kyrie, Bradley Beal, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Davis, Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and Jonas Valanciunas. Those are the guys I'm rocking with today. So pretty full lineup. I got, by the way, Kyrie Irving is not playing tonight. He is out. Irving personal will not travel with the team for Friday's game against the Grizzlies. Malika Andrews of ESPN.com reports. So he won't travel with them, which means he won't play. They're obviously on the road. I'm hoping KD and Kyrie are both back for the game on Sunday. At least KD seems like he should be back if he keeps on testing negative. Obviously not just for the net standpoint, but just for fantasy. Obviously Kyrie is a big part of my fantasy team. So to have him out definitely hurts, but luckily I've got a pretty, I would say, lengthy lead. I mean, I'm winning by about 500. To be exact, I'm winning by 509. So to be exact, I'm winning by 409 points. So it's not like it's a close game. But if it was close, that would definitely impact, I would say. But still good. Obviously, I think it's still good. Obviously, it's still good to obviously have that. Still pretty good to obviously still have him on your team, even though I'm even though he's out, for future, when I don't imagine him to be out much longer for the person. I mean, I don't know what the personal is all about. Steve Nash says he doesn't even know, so if the head coach don't know, then I definitely don't know. But yeah. And then tomorrow for my lineup, it's the same thing. You'll probably put Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, Miles Turner, Oladipo, Nurkic, and Bradley Beal also play. And then Sunday's lineup would also be Irving, who's day-to-day at the moment. I would probably put him in because I would imagine personal will be better by then. Then Jeremy Grant, Anthony Davis, Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and then Jimmy Butler. That's kind of your lineup there. So it's going to be really interesting. But obviously, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens here. Obviously, like I said, I've grown a pretty good lead, so I would imagine that I feel pretty confident. Especially, I got a lot of other players going tonight. So like I said, if there was a time for a player to be, there's another person in my lead that I've been talking to about just in general. That had KD going, and they're in a close game, and without KD playing, it's really affecting them. So I'm lucky that I'm beating my opponent pretty big here. So it looks like I'm on my way to move to 2-1, and right now I have the most points scored total in all the league. I have one more point than someone else, so it's looking pretty good for me right now. Obviously, after starting off 0-1, it looks like I'm going to catch my second straight win. But like I said, it's kind of funny because you have back-to-back, right? You can't enjoy the win too much, right? You obviously have the game, and then that next day your new matchup starts, and it just keeps on going. Matchups last 5 days, so obviously I'm obviously hoping to move to 2-1. Obviously, my goal, I've always said this, and I'm sure many of your goals is this too. My goal is to go out there and win every single game. That's my goal. So that's really the goal. So that's kind of just a fantasy basketball overview, all that good stuff. That should be pretty good. Alrighty. So let's see. Now I move on to the college basketball games. So college basketball, we got, if I could get it there. So yesterday, Crane won, that was Wednesday. So yesterday, Illinois won, Gonzaga won, Wisconsin won, Iowa won, and Colorado won. Colorado's a good team this season. And today we got one matchup for the top 25 teams. We got Michigan State and Purdue. I got Michigan State to win. Tomorrow, though, we got a good amount of matchups on tomorrow. Let's see. We got Rutgers, Ohio State. I give Rutgers the win. Creighton, St. John's, I give Creighton the win. Duke, Wake Forest, give Duke the win. Texas, West Virginia, give Texas the win. Really like the way Texas is playing there. Tennessee, Texas A&M, I give Tennessee the win. Virginia, Boston College, give Virginia the win. Michigan, game's postponed. Baylor, TCU, give Baylor the win. Texas Tech, Iowa State, give Texas Tech the win. Houston, Tulane, give Houston the win. Kansas, Oklahoma, give Kansas the win. And Clemson, North Carolina, give Clemson the win. Gonzaga, Portland, give Gonzaga the win. Actually, no, Clemson, North Carolina. Yeah, Clemson, I guess. I mean, it should be a good game, though. It should definitely be a good game. Missouri, LSU, give Missouri the win. And Oregon, Utah, give Oregon the win. And as for the Kentucky game, Kentucky plays tomorrow 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. Kentucky against Florida. Kentucky comes in as game 3-6. Florida comes in 5-2. Obviously, Kentucky 3-6 on a 2-game win streak. I give Kentucky the win. I really like the way, obviously we're 2-0 in SEC play. I really like the way Kentucky's been playing. Especially these past, couple of games. Obviously the beginning of the year was definitely rough, but I really like the way Kentucky's been playing, so I'll give them the win. Deontay Allen's been playing really good. Obviously Olivia Sarr, really positive news. He obviously had a really good game. He got to the free throw line, which was a big part of his game at Wake Forest. Obviously he transferred, so to see him have a good game like that, hopefully he could build on it. I give Kentucky the win. And as for NBA, yesterday, we had the Nets won, like I said, great win for them. Mavericks won, Spurs won, Trailblazers won, and Cavs won. Nets won, great win for them. Obviously, like I said, Joe Harris had a big game. TLC knocked down a couple of good threes. Good game, even without, both those are star players, still finding ways to get the win and good things like that. So, Suns, Pistons, I give Suns the win. Hornets, Pelicans, give Pelicans the win. Knicks, Thunder, give Knicks the win. Actually, Thunder the win. I think Thunder win. I get it. The Knicks have been playing good and all. I just don't know. This happens a lot. This happens a lot with the New York Knicks. They start off to a good start, and then they start to struggle. I give the Thunder the win. Wizards, Celtics, give Celtics the win. Jazz, Bucks, I give Bucks the win. Rockets, Magic, give Rockets the win. Lakers, Bulls, give Lakers the win. Warriors, Clippers, give Clippers the win. And the Kings, Raptors, give Raptors the win. The Nets also play. They come in this game 5-4. Grizzlies come in this game 2-6. Grizzlies are 1.5-point favorites. The over/under is 219 for this game. Nets are obviously 5-4. 219. Over/under is 219 for this game. Nets come in on a 2-game win streak. This game is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, you could be found on the YES Network and stuff like that. So the Nets come in this game playing well. I'm going to give the Nets the win, and here's my reasoning behind it, okay? I get it, they're the underdogs and all. They were underdogs yesterday. I love the way we were able to share the ball yesterday. Jaren Allen looked really good. And the Grizzlies, and it showed, the record 2-6 right now. Grizzlies without John Morant are a completely different team. And the Nets without KD and Kyrie almost beat them with John Morant. So I really believe that without John Morant, they could really play really well. So I'm going to give the Nets the win. And, that's what I got for the podcast there. So that's what I got for the podcast there. So that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Enjoy the wild card weekend. Obviously, all those games for wild card obviously should be some really good games. Like you all know, I take breaks on the weekend, so I will see you all back here, obviously, on Monday. With all that being said, I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.